Business Blueprint. Simplifying your success.
Your media story is something that is really important because it needs to be tailored. If you actually want to appear in the media, it's so important to be able to give the media the story that they want. Now, to be clear here, when I'm talking about the media, I'm talking about traditional media like magazines, newspapers, radio, television, online news sites, that sort of thing. And I'm talking about, now I'll tell you what I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about paid advertising. So I'm not referring to where you actually pay and you get a spot in the newspaper or whatever. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about where you think of an idea and you talk to a journalist or editor about it, and they are interested, and they think that your idea, your story idea about yourself or your business is interesting enough that they then decide to do a segment or an article or interview with you. Okay, so that's what I'm referring to. So when it comes to that, it's very important that you're telling the right stories to the right people or the right media through the right channels. The trouble is that I see a lot of small business entrepreneurs do this spray and pray approach. They just send out the same press release to everyone and hope something sticks. But that is, like a fast track to inefficiency. It's far better to tailor your stories to suit that particular media. I'll give you an example. I was talking to a guy the other day, and he was talking about, he's hired a PR firm and he wasn't that enamoured with them because he didn't think that they were achieving the results that he was wanting. And he wants to target mothers of young children because his business creates products that are suitable for young families. So that's why he wanted to target mothers of young children. And he was saying to me, look, I'm just not that happy with the PR company. We haven't been in the Financial Review. And I said, well, why do you want to be in the Financial Review? And he said, well, it's a business publication and, we're a business. Now, somehow I don't think that mothers with young children are hanging out for the Financial Review every day after the kids have been put to sleep and poring it over every page, reading it from cover to cover. What he was really looking for was not a return on investment on his PR, but a return on his ego, because it was the Financial Review. But that wasn't his target market at all. Instead of the Financial Review, he should have been looking at things like Practical Parenting Magazine, Sydney's Child, Kids Spot, Essential Baby, Essential Kids. There's a whole heap of sites and publications out there that are exactly his target market. So it's very important to think that you're telling the right stories to the right media. And this is where I see a lot of small business entrepreneurs fall down, is that they don't bother to tailor. And tailoring doesn't have to take a lot of time. It's just thinking about what kind of story is going to best suit that particular publication. Let's pretend you're a dog grooming business. If you're pitching a story to something like A Dog's Life magazine, and that's for dog lovers, pet owners, you might pitch a story about something like the 5 key things you need to do to groom your dog at home. Yeah, because that would suit that market. If you really wanted to pitch it to the Financial Review, and you've got to have a good reason why, you're kind of wasting your effort, you might pitch an angle like how you first started a mobile dog grooming business with 2 vehicles, and now it's grown so much that you have 25 franchisees all over the country, you've expanded to New Zealand, and in your next stage of growth, you're looking at private equity. That's suitable for the Financial Review. But then you might pitch a story to Marie Claire. And you could talk about how that you're Sarah, and you're 32, used to be a lawyer, but you loved grooming your friends' pets on the weekend, and that just grew and grew to the point where you had an entrepreneurial seizure. You decided to chuck in the law and become an entrepreneur full-time. And you might pitch that to the career pages in Marie Claire. Smart Company, which is for small business entrepreneurs, you might pitch an angle that on the perils and pitfalls of franchising, the challenges that you've faced as you franchise, but also the things that you've done right along the way. Can you see how that is ideal for that audience? Then perhaps you want to go on television, and Bondi Vet, there's Dr. Chris, and Dr. Chris usually deals with injured animals. So perhaps you would pitch a segment where you could give Dr. Chris tips on how to groom injured animals. And can you see how if you had sent the same press release to all of these, it probably would have ended up in the delete, in the trash. You might think it's up to the journalist, and I've been a journalist 20 years. You might think it's up to the journalist to determine the angle, to extract what you want, but they get hundreds of press releases and pictures from business owners every single day. The one that's tailored is the one that's going to cut through. And so if you tailor your message and your story, your media story, that is going to increase your strike rate and your chances of being featured.
Business Blueprint. To access more great content, visit businessblueprint.com.